Rome was the most powerful empire in human history. Every general who faced them lost. Every kingdom that challenged them was destroyed. But there was one empire, almost completely erased from Western history books, that didn't just fight Rome. It captured a Roman emperor alive, twice. This is the story of the empire that made Rome kneel. Most people, when they think of Rome's enemies, think of the Carthaginians, the Visigoths, maybe Attila the Hun. But almost nobody talks about the Parthian Empire, and later their successors, the Sassanids. For over 700 years, these two Iranian empires were the only powers on earth that Rome genuinely feared. Not respected, feared. But why don't we hear about them? Simple. History is written by the winners, or in this case, by the Europeans. And an empire from modern-day Iran defeating the great Rome didn't quite fit the narrative. So today we're correcting that. Year is 53 BC. Rome is at the height of its power. Julius Caesar is conquering Gaul. Pompey has just pacified the East. And Marcus Licinius Crassus, one of the richest men in Roman history, a member of the famous First Triumvirate, decides he wants military glory to match his wealth. His target? The Parthian Empire, stretching across modern-day Iran and Iraq. Crassus gathered 50,000 Roman soldiers, elite troops, battle-hardened veterans. He was so confident that his officers reportedly begged him not to go. He didn't listen. At the Battle of Carrhae, in modern-day Turkey, something happened that Romans had never experienced before. The Parthian general Surena fielded a relatively small force, but it included something Rome had no answer for. Heavy armored cavalry called cataphracts, covered head to toe in steel, and horse archers who never stopped moving, never let Romans get close, and rained arrows from every direction. When the dust settled, 20,000 Roman soldiers were dead. Another 10,000 were captured and marched into slavery deep inside Parthia. Crassus himself was killed, and according to legend, the Parthians poured molten gold into his mouth, a symbol of his greed. Rome's myth of invincibility had its first real crack. That was just the beginning. 3 centuries later, Rome faced an even more humiliating defeat, this time against the Parthian successors, the Sassanid Empire. By 260 AD, Rome was in chaos. Emperors were rising and falling every few years. The economy was collapsing, and the Sassanid Emperor Shapur I, one of the most brilliant military minds of the ancient world, saw his opportunity. Roman Emperor Valerian marched east with an army of 70,000 men. What happened next is still debated by historians, but the result is not. Valerian was captured, alive, the sitting Roman emperor taken prisoner on the battlefield. Shapur didn't just parade him through the streets. He used Valerian as a human footstool when mounting his horse. He had the scene carved into a cliff face in modern-day Iran, a 2,000-year-old stone carving that still exists today, showing the Persian king with his foot on a Roman emperor's back. Rome never fully recovered from the psychological blow, and Shapur, he went on to raid deep into Roman territory, sacking the city of Antioch, one of the most important cities in the ancient world, not once, but twice. Why don't we know about these empires? Why isn't Shapur the first taught alongside Alexander the Great or Julius Caesar? Part of the answer is geography. The Parthian and Sassanid empires were centered in modern-day Iran, a region that Western academia historically paid little attention to. Part of it is language. Most primary sources are in Middle Persian or Aramaic, not Latin or Greek. But honestly, a large part of it is bias. Western historical tradition built a narrative where Greco-Roman civilization was the pinnacle of the ancient world, an empire from the east matching, and often beating, that civilization didn't fit the story being told. The Sassanids, at their peak, were not just militarily powerful, they were culturally extraordinary. They built hospitals, real functioning hospitals with trained physicians centuries before Europe. They established the world's first university, the Academy of Gondishapur, where Greek, Indian, and Persian scholars worked together. They had running water, advanced agriculture, and a sophisticated bureaucracy that would later directly influence the Islamic caliphates that came after them. Parthian and Sassanid empires stood for over 700 years combined. They defeated Rome on multiple occasions. They produced art, science, and architecture that rivaled anything in the ancient world. And today, most people in the West have never heard their names. History has a way of forgetting the stories that don't fit the dominant narrative, but those forgotten stories are often the most extraordinary ones. This channel exists for exactly that reason. Every week we bring you the empires, the battles, and the civilizations that history left behind. If you found this story as fascinating as I did, subscribe, because next week we're going somewhere even more unexpected. And before you go, one question. If a Roman emperor was used as a human footstool by a Persian king, why did no one ever tell you that in school? Leave your answer in the comments.